So in this video today, I want to talk about 9 hidden signs of your personal growth. These are the indicators, the things to look for so that you can keep yourself on the path and so you can keep marching forward. Let's dive right into it with number 1. You start embracing the embarrassment of being a beginner. This is a life hack that it took me 33 years to learn. The only way to accomplish incredible things is to endure days, weeks, months, even years of embarrassing failure, of being an embarrassing beginner. In fact, one of the things I've noticed is that the most successful people in the world really love that feeling, that embarrassment. It's a signal for them that they're headed down the right path. It's a signal for them that they're going to uncover those aha moments, those new learnings, those insights that for them are the reason that they're pushing forward. You're actually going and chasing down those areas where you feel like an embarrassing beginner. Most people will never do that because feeling that embarrassment is so scary to them. So most people won't ship that piece of content. They won't publish something publicly. They won't create that V1 prototype. They won't do the thing that exposes them to that feeling of embarrassment. You're afraid of what other people are going to say about you. But when you start embracing that embarrassment of being a beginner, you know that you're on the right path. You know that you're experiencing that growth because it's an important feature in your journey over the long run.
I feel like so many people, especially young people nowadays, we just care, including myself, we care so much about what other people think of us, like, our family, our friends, or our superiors, that we surround ourselves with. What would you recommend, someone like myself, to become someone that, can immerse himself or herself in embarrassment?
Yeah, it's a common thing. It's called the spotlight effect, and it is this cognitive bias that we have that we assume that everyone is staring at us and paying attention to us. And so I've said this before, but there are 2 big mistakes in life. One is worrying about what other people think about you, and the second is believing that other people think about you in the first place, because no one is really watching you. Everyone's just walking through their own life worrying about themselves because we're egotistical creatures. We're just trying to survive. So all of those moments where you don't do something because you're worried about other people's perception of you, it's actually just a flaw in your own mind. Putting yourself out there and failing, maybe people notice it for a second, but then they've moved on to whatever the next thing is in their own life. And you recognize this when you're a teenager and when you're young. You worry so much about your outfit at school or that zit you have on your face or whatever the thing is that's causing you anxiety. And you realize that no one else is paying attention to you because they are just worried about their outfit and the zit on their face or whatever the stress is that's going on in their life. So overcoming that spotlight effect, realizing that no one's really looking at you, that you can go and do that embarrassing thing where you're a beginner because you're not going to be a beginner forever. If you can endure a month of being a beginner at something, you can overcome it and get to the other side. And that is personal growth. I'm going to grab my drink. Can you grab it for me?
Yeah.
Thanks. Not sponsored.
Who's that cute Persian-looking guy with the blue shirt that walked into frame?
No one said that. No one said it.
They were thinking it.
Number 2, you stop concerning yourself with how your growth makes other people feel. One of the things that happens when you are on your journey to improvement, to growth, is that people from your prior life are not going to like it. They're going to be old friends, maybe family members, maybe colleagues that are not supportive of the journey that you're on to improve yourself. They're going to tell you to be realistic. They're going to laugh at your ambitions. They're going to make comments behind your back. They're going to throw those subtle digs at you. You need to remember that it has nothing to do with you. Your journey to growth is just exposing an insecurity in them. And you are not responsible for how your journey, how your self-improvement, how you pushing yourself is making them feel. That is not something that you need to feel bad about. That's not something that you need to change in yourself. You need to focus on your journey and what you can do to improve, to be better tomorrow than you are today, to be better today than you were yesterday. That is your responsibility. And how that makes other people feel, how it exposes their insecurities, is not something you need to concern yourself with. Number 3, you start setting and enforcing healthy boundaries. This is an important reminder. You don't need to attend every event you get invited to. You don't need to say yes to every meeting you get asked to do. You don't need to say yes to every social event. You don't need to say yes to every friend that asks you to do something. You don't need to do any of that. What you need to do is figure out what the healthy boundaries are going to be in your life and set and then stick to them. That is the really important thing as you progress on your journey, because you can only take on so much. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And the challenge that most people face, myself included, is that when you say yes to too many things, you're just saying no to yourself. And that is the worst thing that you can do on your journey. So establish those boundaries, figure out what you can't take on right now in your life. Maybe you can take it on in a future season, but not right now. Establish those boundaries and move forward.
Why is it so hard for people to get over this people pleaser mentality?
It's hardwired in a lot of our makeups. I mean, I personally self-define as a nice person. I was like a lot of who I thought I was growing up. And that means that you do things to try to be nice to people. And one of the things that I have learned over time is that nice and kind are often really in tension. What I mean by that is a nice person will just say the thing you want to hear. A kind person will say the thing you need to hear. They will give you the candid feedback. They'll say the thing that you might not that might not feel good to you in that moment. And a kind person establishes those boundaries. A kind person doesn't need to people please because they're focused on the core people that really matter in their life. One of the things that I've always thought was a sign of personal growth, which is in line with this one of boundaries, is you stop needing to have 1,000 friends. When I was younger, I felt like I needed to be friends with everyone. I need to be liked by everyone. And as I've gotten older, what I've realized is I just want to be loved by the people that truly know me, that have seen my authentic self, that are around me on a daily basis, that I'm really in the trenches with. And that's okay to me. And that should be okay to you as you start to experience that growth. Number 4, you start feeling scared of the things you're working on. Fear and that feeling of imposter syndrome bubbling up inside you is a sign of growth, because it means that you're taking things on, that you're doing things that are bigger than your current capability level, that are bigger than your current competency. And that's a good thing. That feeling of imposter syndrome, reframing that as something that's positive, that it can actually drive you forward, and then it's actually a sign that you're doing the right things, that you're pushing yourself, is something that I have found to be really productive. Embracing a yet mindset is the best way to approach this. And what I mean by that is you say, I can't do X. Change that to saying, I can't do X yet. That can be anything. That could be the new skill you're trying to learn. That could be the new weights you're trying to lift. That could be the new cardio you're trying to do, the meals you're trying to make. Whatever the thing is, you just haven't done it yet. No one has accomplished the thing until they have. I mean, you talk about some of the most successful entrepreneurs in history, they had never built that business until they did. So by definition, they were an imposter until they weren't. And that's okay. The point is that you need to be pushing yourself to feel those feelings, to feel that fear, to be scared of the things you're taking on, because it means that you're growing. It means that you're making that progress in your life.
Would you say it's really important to surround yourself with people or work with people that are going to push you to, be in those environments where you say to yourself, I don't have the skills yet to do this. But you do it anyway just because of the people that you surround yourself with?
Yeah, getting into rooms where you're a little uncomfortable, a little scared is a life hack. Some of the greatest points of progress in my life have come as a result of getting into a few of those rooms, to being into a room where you're like, how can I possibly add value to the people that are here? How can I possibly push this conversation forward? How can I possibly, be interesting to this person? I talked to you about this a few weeks ago. I had dinner with this billionaire entrepreneur, and that kind of thing scares the hell out of me because I just can't imagine how I could be interesting to someone that has achieved that level of success in their life. Well, it turns out if you open your eyes and you open your ears, you can contribute value in unique and interesting ways. I wrote a book and he is writing a book right now. And so he was interested in the value that I could add to that process and how I approached it and things that I was doing. That never would have occurred to me if I hadn't opened up and actually pushed myself to be in that room with him, to be there. And now we're developing a relationship on the basis of that. So there's a lot, if you get creative, where anyone, it doesn't matter where your walk, where your walk has taken you. It doesn't matter what perspectives you have to offer, because they're going to be unique. They're going to be different. You're going to be able to offer a different lens to someone, no matter where they are on their journey. So get yourself into those rooms and just figure out how you can create value for people in unique ways. Number 5, you stop focusing on sounding impressive to others. This is from a conversation I had with a guy named Chris Pronger, who's a dear friend of mine and an NHL Hall of Fame hockey player, one of the most legendary hockey players of all time. And what he said to me was, early in his career and during some of the peaks of his career, he felt extraordinarily impressive to other people, but not impressive to himself. And he was as down and out as he had ever felt mentally. And it was a reminder that being impressive to others is overrated, and being impressive to yourself is what really matters in the end. Those moments where you don't feel impressive to yourself are when you start to brag about your accomplishments. It's when you start to puff yourself up because your insecurities are showing through. You exaggerate the things you're working on. I have been there. I have felt that at many times in my life. And it was always when I wasn't comfortable with who I was as a person that I felt the need to push and brag and make things up. You need to focus on feeling impressive to yourself. Look internally rather than worrying about the external, rather than worrying about what is the new achievement, what is the new thing, the new award, the new money I raised, the new sale I did, whatever it is. Don't worry about that. Focus on your internal, and the external will manifest itself. Number 6, you stop complaining about things that are outside of your control. One of my favorite proverbs says, "He who blames others has a long way to go on his journey. He who blames himself is halfway there. He who blames no one has already arrived." Complaining is the worst thing you can do in life. My most important rule for life is don't complain about anything. If it's within your control, go and do something about it. And if it's out of your control, you're just wasting energy thinking about it. Focus on the things that you can control. Spend time on those. Take action to actually drive those and move them forward. If it's without of your control, don't give any power to it by thinking about it or allowing it to consume your headspace. Move on and focus on the things that you can actually control and act upon. 7, you start embracing the changes in your identity. Identity is the real thing that we're all searching for in life, and it's one of the most challenging things to find. A lot of times the struggle that we experience is the result of clinging to some old version of ourselves, that old version that other people want to reinforce or that we feel safe within. And when we start to feel it break, when we start to feel it change, we experience this real internal strife, this real internal struggle. Well, the paradox of change says that the only constant in life is change. You are a being of change. Every single day when you take on new actions, when you do anything, when you learn anything, when you fail, when you succeed, you are changing throughout all of that. So embracing that change, embracing the fact that your identity is never fixed. There's no old you, there's no new you, there's no whatever V1, V2. None of that exists. You are just in a constant state of change. And embracing that fact, being adaptable, growing through that chaos and change is how you actually find happiness, how you find fulfillment, and how you find the success that you're looking for.
Can you talk about a previous time in your life where you really embraced that change?
Yeah, I think that athletes experience this in a very tough and harmful way for a lot of them, where you've defined yourself around a single thing for so long in your life. And for me, that was sports. It was baseball. I played in college and really defined myself around that. And so when that's taken away from you, which it eventually is, you can experience a lot of struggle because your identity was so built out around this one thing. Same experience for military veterans, same experience for a lot of entrepreneurs after their company either succeeds or fails. But that challenge for me of having to step away from the sport that I had built my entire identity around and find a new identity was really, really tough. I was fortunate in that I had a couple of people in my life who helped me realign around a new thing. My dad, my roommate at the time, who really allowed me to kind of take the energy that I had been deploying into that prior identity and find that new one and realize that I was capable of taking that same discipline and energy and putting it into a new thing.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. 8, you start embracing being wrong. When I was younger, I used to assume that the most successful people in the world were just right about everything, that they just knew more than the rest of us. What I've learned after spending tons of time with those people and meeting a lot of them over the years is that that is not the case. They don't have better answers than all of us. They ask better questions. And they embrace being wrong. They actually try to find the truth much more than they try to be right. So a normal person has this struggle. They want to be right. They say something, and when someone gives them feedback or when someone conflicts with it, they want to fight about it. They want to make sure that they are right in some argument. A really successful person is much more focused on digging down to find the truth in that situation, and they embrace being wrong because they view it as a software update to their brain, as something that they can change their mind on so that they can actually improve the underlying software that runs their life. As you start to notice that you are okay with being wrong, as you are on that path to finding the truth about anything that you're doing, about a business, about your personal life, about the world around you, about your relationships, whatever it is, as you see that, as you start to feel that, you are growing. And number 9, you start cringing at yourself from 6 months ago. You need to embrace the cringe in your life. If you're ever feeling stuck in a rut, try this. Look back at yourself from 6 months ago, at your mindsets, at your behaviors, at your actions, at your beliefs. If you feel that feeling of cringe at who you were, at the output that you were creating in those moments, that is a sign of growth. That means that you have changed. That means that you have developed. It means that something that was hard for you then is easier for you today. That is a great sign. That means that you're making progress in your world. It means you're making progress on the things that really matter to you. So when you start to feel that feeling of being in a rut, look back at yourself from 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 12 months ago, whatever. And if you feel that cringe bubbling up at anything that you were doing, at the things you believed, just know that that's a sign of growth. Here's a rule for life. When in doubt, zoom out. You live your entire life zoomed way, way in. The problem with that is that it's very easy to lose sight of the growth that you're experiencing. It's very easy to get lost in the noise of the days and lose sight of the growth that's happening over the years. These 9 signs of personal growth that we talked through will help you zoom out to see the growth that is happening in your world over the longer term. It's very important to recenter yourself around that, to recognize when you are growing, so that you keep yourself on the path, so that you allow yourself the space to keep making those investments. Remember, you might just be the Chinese bamboo, working and working under the surface, getting ready to suddenly explode to new heights. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this, you'll love some of my other videos, which you can find here on the screen. And as always, until next time, everybody, stay curious.